For 15 years, Goldie Hawn's disappearance from the Hollywood spotlight stood as one of the entertainment industry's most enduring mysteries. Fans speculated, journalists theorized, and yet the truth remained carefully guarded until a single, unscripted moment on the Oscar stage this past March. With quiet certainty, Goldie offered a 5-word explanation that reframed everything. "I had to save my life." It wasn't a performance, it was survival. And behind that brief confession lay decades of resilience, personal reckoning, and a deliberate decision to reclaim control in an industry that often tried to define her before she could define herself. A childhood shaped by art and absence. Long before Hollywood knew her name, Goldie Hawn was a little girl dancing in her mother's studio, surrounded by music, movement, and creativity. Born November 21, 1945, in Washington, D.C., she was the daughter of Edward Rutledge Hawn, a band musician descended from one of the youngest signers of the Declaration of Independence, and Laura Steinhoff, a graceful dancer whose love for the arts filled their home. Yet beneath the warmth and artistry was an unspoken sorrow. Goldie and her sister Patty once had an older brother, Edward Jr., who died before Patty was born. His absence was never discussed, but it quietly shaped Goldie's emotional landscape. From an early age, she learned that joy and loss often coexist, a lesson that fostered deep empathy and a lifelong drive to create happiness, both on and off the screen. Finding her voice through movement, Goldie began dancing at just 3 years old in her mother's ballet and tap studio, discovering movement as a language before she ever found words. By age 10, her talent carried her onto a professional stage, performing the Nutcracker with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo. At 19, she paused her studies at American University to open and teach at her own ballet school, an early signal of her independence and leadership. Though the studio offered stability, she felt the pull of something bigger, a world beyond familiar walls and expected paths. Westward, with courage, and a poodle. At 21, Goldie packed her belongings, a few dollars, and her tiny poodle into a car and headed west, determined to perform at California's Melodyland Theater near Disneyland. The journey nearly ended in the Mojave Desert when her car broke down, leaving her stranded with just $50. Trusting her instincts, she accepted help from a passing hitchhiker, a Green Beret recently returned from Vietnam, who safely guided her to her destination. It was a defining moment, equal parts vulnerability and bravery, and a glimpse of the courage that would define her life. Hollywood's bright smile and narrow box television first brought Goldie national attention through Good Morning World, and later Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Audiences adored her infectious giggle and radiant smile, but the industry quickly tried to confine her to the role of the carefree, bubbly blonde. What few recognized was the disciplined dancer, the sharp intellect, and the fierce ambition behind the charm. Goldie understood early that success would require breaking free from Hollywood's limited expectations. An Oscar unexpected. Her breakthrough came in 1969 with Cactus Flower. Playing Tony Simmons, a role layered with vulnerability and strength, Goldie captivated critics and audiences alike. The film became one of the year's biggest hits, and her performance earned an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. In a fittingly unconventional twist, Goldie was asleep in London when she won. Raquel Welch accepted the Oscar on her behalf, making her first Academy Awards moment one she didn't even witness live, a reminder that her talent spoke loudly enough on its own, power on her own terms. Goldie refused to let her Oscar define the limits of her career. When studios doubted the viability of a woman-led military comedy, she championed Private Benjamin, taking on the role of producer as well as star. The gamble paid off spectacularly. The film became a cultural phenomenon, earning nearly $70 million and proving Goldie wasn't just a box office draw, she was a force capable of shaping her own narratives. Her philosophy was simple and unyielding. Don't tell me I can't, just watch me. A golden era. Throughout the 1980s, Goldie delivered a remarkable run of films: Swing Shift, Overboard, Bird on a Wire, each showcasing her ability to blend intelligence, warmth, comedy, and emotional depth. Adjusted for inflation, Her films have earned over $2 billion domestically, a staggering achievement in an industry notorious for fleeting stardom. Her performances weren't just entertaining, they felt human, grounded, and authentic. Strength in sisterhood. Goldie's influence extended beyond herself. In 1996, she united Diane Keaton and Bette Midler for the First Wives Club, insisting on a story that balanced humor with heart and championed female solidarity. She also negotiated an unprecedented agreement ensuring equal footing for all three stars. No hierarchy, no competition. The result was a global hit and a powerful statement about collaboration in Hollywood. Love, loss, and family. Goldie's personal life brought its own trials. Her marriages to Gus Triconis and later Bill Hudson ended amid the strain of competing careers and unresolved tensions. Still, she remained fiercely devoted to her children, Oliver and Kate, anchoring her life in love and growth rather than bitterness. Kurt Russell, and a different kind of forever Goldie, first met Kurt Russell in 1968, but their true love story began 15 years later on the set of Swing Shift. What captured her heart wasn't fame, but the way he treated her children. Their first date, a spontaneous, chaotic break-in followed by a visit from the police, set the tone for a relationship built on laughter and authenticity. Choosing never to marry, they committed instead to a daily, intentional partnership, renewed each Valentine's Day. Together, they formed a blended family rooted in trust, freedom, and joy, walking away with grace. In an industry fueled by spectacle and conflict, Goldie mastered the art of quiet dignity. She walked away from negativity, avoided public feuds, and let her work and character speak for her. Her strength was never performative. It was thoughtful, deliberate, and enduring. A life fully claimed, Goldie Hawn's legacy is not just measured in box office numbers or awards, but in the way she chose herself, again and again. From a child dancing in her mother's studio to an Oscar-winning actress, producer, partner, and mother, she turned adversity into agency and success into meaning. Her story reminds us that resilience doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers 5 simple words and changes everything.